So come on in, take a sip, and let's wind down. Yours truly still hasn't gone off to the wine store because, well, I got a bunch of stuff I've got to do this evening, but I knew I had the ingredients to make one of my favorite drinks, a Boulevardier, which is like having a Negroni, only swap out the gin for bourbon. And it is quite satisfying as well, just like the Negroni. So I'm just so terribly glad that everyone is here. Thank you so much for helping me get this thing solved today. I really appreciate the comments from yesterday. They were remarkable. But, so it's kind of a poignancy, I think. But I always wish birthdays to those in my family and the ones we love. And I wanted to say happy birthday to our youngest, Julian Isabella. I called her Sparky, but we lost Sparky several years ago, right as COVID was really raging. She was in a car accident. But it doesn't change the fact that it was our youngest, and she was beautiful. And just happy birthday, Sparky girl. We miss you terribly. So now I'm going to try to get a hold of myself for a second. That helps a little bit. I'm going to tell you, though, in all honesty, it's just one of those clubs that you don't ever want to join. And I don't think any parent should ever have to do that. But happy birthday, Sparky Doodle. So the Merriam-Webster's word of the day is Gesundheit. And this is an interesting word, if there ever was one. My Oma always said that. You'd sneeze or whatever, have the hiccups, she'd say Gesundheit. And it literally just means healthhood. I mean, essentially, I'm trying to translate that in my head, but gesund is literally like health, right? And then height literally means like hood, like a knighthood or something like that. And so it's healthhood, I suppose, or basically it's just considered to your health. But it's like so many words that we just don't have the same descriptive qualities in English that German does, which is why we borrow so much from the Germans, right? It's one of my favorite terms out there is Schadenfreude. I love Schadenfreude, right? Because you literally are. We all, I think, have a tendency to take some pleasure in the pains of our enemies, so to speak, right? So it's just this great word, but we don't really have anything like that. The other word that I love so much, and we don't really use in English at all, but they use here in Germany quite often, is Jein. That's J-A, and then, it would be J-A, and then Nein. Ja is J-A, and then Nein is N-E-I-N, Nein. But then you create Jein, which is J-E-I-N, and it literally means yes, no. And so it's like, do you want a piece of this chocolate cake? Jein. Oh, I do, but no. So great words there in those respects. And so it is nice to see Gesundheit pop in here for us today. And again, the Boulevardier, fantastic cocktail. And it's just what I needed today. It's been a long, long week. And I know we're looking down the throat of a potential government shutdown. And that just throws everything into chaos. And so it's just been stressful. And I'm just so glad that Friday is here. And again, thank you so much for being here. If you would please try to give us a like, because it would really help the algorithm bring more people like you to the community. I always wanted to gate our growth to an extent. I didn't want it to just be some kind of crazy thing. I didn't have to deal with the heckling or with the trolls or with whomever. I just wanted to build a cool community, and I thought it would probably cap out around 800. I had no idea that we'd be sitting at over 8,000 at some point. I'd like to have 1 million people that want to sit and do this with us. I think it'd be amazing. But I want it to grow with people just like you. The comments were so overwhelmingly kind and generous, and they always are. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. So we're at about a 50%, 50-50 people watching. who subscribed and unsubscribed. So if you feel like doing that, it'd be great. I mean, it's free. If you want to put a ring on my ringless finger, I got one open, you know, maybe a little commitment or something, right? So let's hop into our grid. Let me straighten up here, get myself in order. And we've got a Larry Snyder construction for Friday, September 26th, and of course edited by the amazing Will Shorts. And the headline for the wordplay column says, stream with a lot of shade. Larry Snyder's puzzle gave me a run for my money. So we're going to go with the old-fashioned. We're going to find a place to anchor, right? We've got to find an anchor, and then we'll go from there. So let's see. So hogwash. First thing that came to my mind was piffle. Probably not going to be that. Put in stitches. Could be to sew. So with that, you interested? How about a wanna? Wanna? Me wanna. Of course. Start of account off. I don't know. Is it eeny? I don't ever really remember how to spell it. Is it a Y or an IE? I never can tell. Talked one's way out of hogwash. Could be swill. I think we've anchored ourselves pretty good here. So talked one's way out of could literally be weaseled out of. So yeah, that's okay. That might work. Embark be set off. That would be 6. I have 7. So it might be on display at Comic-Con. No idea. Let's see. Cleaning product commonly used by pet owners. One receiving monthly payments. So I don't know. Let's go with the Eenie here. So I guess this could be a lease. A leaser. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. So that cleaning product by pet owners could be a lint roller. And I think that's, yeah. Embark. Oh, set sail. Got it. You know, we got to do our best. I don't think I ever think of set sail to take off. You know, set off, that kind of thing, you know. Leave, perhaps, you know, comes to my mind. Patronized in a way. Flock of geese is to a business of, and I do believe these are ferrets. I haven't seen that in a long time. But I did read a book on odd units of measurement. You know, I was watching a Family Guy years ago, and he was talking to Peter was talking to somebody, and the term came up, you want a desk of cheese? And I thought, a desk? Is that real? And I looked it up. Turns out it was just Seth MacFarlane having fun with it. I started really looking into all of these different things, you know what I mean? You know, the coveys, the bevies, you know, the murders and all this stuff. It's just incredible way that we go about doing that. But the business of ferrets. So, repeated word in the Star Wars prologue, far, far away. So, politician who organized the first congressional hearing on global warming would be Al Gore. All right, so maybe 8 at is how we patronized. So, yeah, it holds the line, could be a reel. That's clever, too. So I think this, it might be our inner geek on display at Comic-Con. And I don't know if Crosswordland does that sort of thing if he goes to Comic-Con, but it seems like he would. And we're looking at his background and stuff, and while I look like I'm sitting in a cross between an antique shop and a museum and, I don't know, a TGI Fridays perhaps, or a Bennigan's from the late 1980s. That's because I'm surrounding myself with the things that I love here, right? You know, I mean, the things that I'm into, you know. Yeah, there's something to be said. So yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Okay. I was just looking at like the background in his study there in his studio where he does his crosswords and stuff, and wow, he's got all the stuff, Star Wars, Batman, or whatever, just all that stuff that I don't have anything of. I'm looking around me. I got nothing. I don't have anything really. But I wonder if he lets his inner geek out at Comic-Con. Takes in the trash. Well, looks like we have a delete here, so maybe a delete something. It gets pumped at a party. Oh, I thought that'd be an ego for sure, but no, we got a keg. So search for oneself. Oh, maybe we have an ego after all. This ego surf. If that's what we're doing. Call at the table could be TC. It's so funny with the quinky dinks that show up in the grids. I swear, it always is mind-blowing to me. Blowouts could be routes or romps. I don't think a U on top of that E is going to make much sense, but let's see. Duchess of Sussex beginning in 2018. I think that's Megan. And so blowouts, I guess we got romps then. City east of Phoenix would be Tempe. Is this seat taken? How about may I? And you can say the same thing in German, only it sounds completely different. You say darf ich hier sitzen? Darf, D-A-R-F, darf ich hier sitzen? Or it's darf ich? At that point, kind of an easy thing to do. Closing bars. I don't know. Indigenous person of northern South America. Northern South America? Okay. I'm not thinking Incan. I'm thinking maybe a Carib. I don't know. Lots and lots could be a ton. So, closing bars. I have no idea. Variety of violet could be pansy. I guess takes in the trash. We could have a deleted here. The reason I'm thinking that is because I think we might have closing bars would be the coda of a score. And so yeah, and I think we do have a carib here. So hey, I hope. Comic book sound. Pal. Yeah, I spent a few years of my childhood reading like Mad Magazine, stuff like that. You know, it was cool. I liked the little foldy thing on the back. You could fold it over and, create an image or whatever. It was fun. It was interactive, I suppose. I never was much into that stuff. I took the Weekly Reader for years until I was like 9 or something. And then, I don't know, moved on to just reading my parents' magazines, Smart. Maybe ache. I don't know. Drinks made with cardamom, and those would be chais. So I don't know. What do we got here? Word with study or city, and the L gives that one away. Think about study hall, city hall, and I was thinking of smart as in pain. I guess we're talking about smart as in well dressed or chic, as they say in German. My neighbors always say, "Oh, du bist immer so schick." I'm like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a German. You're always so chic, kind of a thing. It was so nice of them to say that. Who am I to question what they have to say about my style, right? That's what I should say. Something a newlywed usually lacks. Stream with a lot of shade. See, that was the title of the article. I don't know. Bowdlerize, maybe. Could be to censor. Well, that's a big thing in the news these days, isn't it? Some wraps. Diaper bag item. That WI there. Tell me we got a wet wipe. Hogwash could be pa. Finally, we're getting somewhere. When I got the hogwash on the swill, I was thinking it was piffle, but I was missing a grid. I was missing a grid square, so that wasn't going to work. Classic thing to slip on. We can fit a banana peel in here. Bananas. Takes in the trash. Oh, I get it. Deleted scenes. Takes in the trash. Deleted scenes. Very good. Wow, Larry Snyder. As per typical, as to be expected. Well done. I mean, gosh, talking about crossword royalty here. Enemigo de un ratón. Enemigo de un ratón. So I guess we're in gato. El gato. Because rats and cats aren't always getting along that well. Dip that can be made in molcajete for short. And I think we're talking about guac. It's where the heart is. Well, we got 5 spaces here. We're not going to put home. So I don't know. Let's see. Serving a purpose could be utile. And stream with a lot of shade. It's kind of funny. Hate watch. I always refer to it as hate streaming, right? You know, you're just sitting around watching something that you know is going to make you happy, right? You know what I mean? And going back to that old German term again, Schadenfreude. You know, you always love that stuff. Something a newlywed usually lacks. I'm thinking alone time. But do you really want alone time when you're newlywed? I mean, I can imagine if you came down with a stomach bug or something, you'd probably want to be left alone just for the embarrassment factor. But otherwise, I think you're usually pretty happy. I don't like alone time, and I've been married for 34 years. I just happen to really, really dig my bride. So we're like best friends. So, and yeah, and as I revealed earlier, we've been through an awful lot together, and I think it's just, she's just a tremendous woman. Some wraps could be stoles, and high points could be acme. So let's check over here. Alea iacta est would be the die is cast. I have been known to say that. But that's when I'm feeling a little nature versus nurture. I always say that. But when the nurture meets up with the nature, then it just, yeah. Schadenfreude. Pet food brand whose name reflects its founding in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and that would be Alpo. I know this. We bid on that account 4 times when I was a young ad man back in my 20s. Never got it. We wound up with Allen Cannery, the canning company in Northwest Arkansas, though. So we had like the green beans and baked beans and all that stuff. It was interesting. Had Uncle Ben's rice, Tyson chicken. We had some good accounts. Daisy BB gun. That was a fun one. But it was AAA glass. Gets there fast. That's the one that I wrote my first jingle to. Still hear it on TV. My voice, me singing. Budget, you know. Chicago Airport code. Airport. Antibiotic used to treat anthrax would be ciprofloxacin, so I think that would be the brand name Cipro. Chew on could be to ponder. I remember I was working in the clinic before I went into advertising. I was going through undergraduate, and then I was working as a scrub tech and a phlebotomist clinician, you know, and I would always look at patients and talk to them, get x-rays, everything before the surgeon could come in and talk with them. And remember the drug reps would come around and give us all the good stuff. And I'd always be like, I might be able to get you in to see the doc, but we're going to need some samples for our patients, and load us up with like Cipro and Feldine, stuff that we don't probably even use anymore, but it doesn't really matter, right? You know, it was just so good to get that, and every now and then you can kind of hold them up to it, you know, like, yeah, I don't know, I could use a new stethoscope. Matter of fact, that Littman that you can't see right now, but there's a Littman stethoscope hanging back there on my bookshelf by the photography. It's a gift. Drug reps. Good stuff. Problem for someone who's pushing 90, saying, I bet we're talking about speeding here, but speed what? I have no idea. Let's take a look, see if we can figure it out. Border on maybe Verge? Maybe. Org that measures AQI, the air quality index, I do believe, the EPA. So maybe a speed gun. I've given myself the hiccups. Perhaps a little bourbon, Campari, and sweet vermouth will hit the spot. Race in a way. Oh, well, we're talking about gunning our engine. Maybe we could be revving up here. Let's see what we've got here. The works. Oh. Les oeuvres. Very nice. Wow, okay. Larry Snyder, now you're speaking to the francophone in me. I gotta tell you, of the 4 languages that I speak best, in order, probably English, Spanish, German, French. Maybe it's just English and then the other 3 equally, but those are my 4 key languages that I can go have a conversation with people. Otherwise, I can say hello in most languages. I mean, from Vietnamese to Korean to Swahili, we'll say hello, goodbye. My Arabic is a little bit better than that. I can at least shop in Arabic and order in a restaurant, but I got to tell you. The French must be my favorite of all the languages, though. It is just so gorgeous. In need of an evening out. Evening out, question mark. Okay. Creased? We're going to need to even it out with an iron, maybe? Let's see. Is this a C cockatoo feature? They have a pretty impressive crest. Yeah, and didn't get broken. Held serve. Very nice. So we've got Novelist Ferrante, Elena, Rebop, Verge, Creased, Ponder. Very nice. So put together could be grouped. That's clever. Waxed in a way. Shotzi just sent me a text message knowing I'm doing the puzzle. But she went to go get, vermouth. So, yeah, I won't be rude. We'll finish the grid, then I'll answer her. Waxed in a way. Maybe, I don't even know. It could be grew. It could be, I don't know what else it could be. I don't know. I don't feel it. So scrape out could be to eke out. Creature that can be red spotted, be a newt. I think we did get a grew out of this, so okay, very good. I'm liking every bit of it. So digitally altered videos of celebrities, say, would be deep fakes. I have more fun with ChatGPT. Make me a portrait where I look like an 18th century baron, in Germany or something. I just love seeing it. It's kind of fun, but I'm training my AI to understand what I like, right? The recipes I like, like 0 carb and delicious, filling. I don't really care for sweets, so like give me, right? And yeah, sign before picking up. That's just before picking up. May I order here? I don't know. Purifying filter acronym would be HEPA. Icelandic saga would be the Ida. And there's two. There's the poetic Ida and there's the prose Ida. But this is where we get our Norse mythology. And for people like me who are like total mythology geeks, yeah, that's kind of cool. That's very cool. I would love to have that hardbound. I don't think the original language would help me. I'm thinking maybe in English, but I would like to have those. One of these days, I'll get them. Made some Java, say, maybe coded. The Walking Dead Network. Okay, well, it's going to have to be AMC. My first thoughts on that are always, it's got to be FX. Because they always have the edgy stuff, right? But, who knows? Cincinnati sports mascot. Oh, Mr. Red. And greeting that combines a handshake and an embrace. Hiccup, sorry. Guessing we're talking about a bro hug. And building, abode, or a building material if it swap its consonants. So adobe. Very cool. So abode. I don't know. How do we do, Bob? And so again, there's just too much going on in here for me to really single out, one or two things when every single bit of it just seemed to be beautiful. Not one of these clue answer combinations made me raise an eyebrow. Did not happen. I was just impressed beyond impressed, right? This is just great. Some really cool switcheroo stuff going on here. Smart. I immediately start thinking we're talking about either intellectual acumen, okay, or we're probably talking about pain. You know what I mean? And so ache came to mind. Though even though smarting and aching are kind of two different things in my brain, but that's just because my brain's a little weird, and I am an artist, and that makes a good definition here. But when I think of smart, I think it's something that's kind of a stabbing pain versus an aching pain, right? Oh, that's smart, kind of a thing, right? So that's just me. But it's just a fantastic grid. And to those of us who love Spanish and German and French, in addition to our English, I tell you, I love it when I see Enemigo de un Ratón. This makes me happy, right? I love this. But how many Spanish speakers do we have indigenous to the United States? I mean, yeah. And I've always said it. If you should probably learn the languages, the lingua franca from your area, right? It's how I started learning Vietnamese when I was a kid. Of course, Spanish and Arabic and Korean, just talking with the people who own the convenience stores, right? Being so curious at 5 or 6 or 7 years old, with a $5 bill from my grandmother to go buy a couple of pack of cigarettes, and then I could use the change to play Pac-Man. I mean, that's Generation X, right? We didn't have to worry about an ID to buy cigarettes. You could buy them at 6 years old and walk down to the 7-Eleven and do it. But you could meet the people who own the places and, go to the donut store and everything else. I mean, you could just meet them. They were young, they were old, they were all ages, and they were entrepreneurs, and they were here. They were there, say in the United States, and trying to make a fresh start. But you see it here in Germany too, right? You see immigrants from all over the place. There's a wonderful pizza joint local that's is run by Afghan immigrants, and there's Syrians, and of course the Turks and the Germans have a long-standing just BFF hood. You know what I mean? They're tight, and it's But you meet the immigrants, and you get out there to the farmers market, and you're meeting with 4th and 5th generation farmers, right? Or they've just been here forever versus the newer folks. That's why I always say at the end, I mean, you meet somebody with a thick accent, just remember, you're talking to someone who's very brave. And I just love to see where that's reflected in the grids. You know what I mean? It really is. It's an American thing. But what a beautiful grid all the way around. I got a kick out of ferrets. That was funny. And now just a fabulous grid. Good to see the Caribs making an appearance here as well. It was just a fun. This was like an inclusive, beautiful grid. and I loved it very much. Let's bring down our Benny Yardad-do, and we'll go ahead and call this a day. Again, I would appreciate it very much if you could like and subscribe. At a minimum, like. I know, I mean, I'm a guy. I know all about commitment issues. No, believe me, I couldn't wait to get married, even though I was barely old enough to vote. So, I mean, but you know, when you know you're in love, right? So, but nevertheless, thank you for putting up with me earlier in the puzzle and before we got started there. But you know, birthdays are birthdays, and I appreciate that very, very much. And until we see you again, ich wünsche Ihnen einen schönen Tag noch. Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, servus, grüß Gott, ciao, Cin-Cin. All that stuff I said about foreign accents. And remember, I may not have always had money, and there were many times when I've had no money. I've never been poor. Be well. Cheers.